signs. See the visual possibility in your business with signs and graphics.
Good evening. What's going on, folks? Welcome to Arclight's Asylum. I am your host, Zach, and I've got another episode of real-time painting for y'all tonight. Make sure the music is a much more manageable level there. Quick shout out to the channel sponsor, Aries Minis and Games. Check out Derek's web store for anything and everything Battletech. He's got a ton of other miniature and game lines available as well. Hobby supplies, trading card games, you name it. Tonight we're going to continue working on the beast mounted / Taric mounted infantry. I'm going to block in the infanteers themselves, as well as all the saddle kit on the Tarakim, do some detail work, and paint the bases. I'm going to try to finish these tonight. Don't know if we'll quite get there, but here's hoping. Sorry for the lack of streams on Monday and Thursday. My daughter brought home the literal plague, the Black Death itself, and tried to murder my wife and I with it. But we came out on top, so here we are. We'll take some time at the end of the stream. We'll go through the Discord channel and peruse. I'll also talk about the plans for the next project on the stream. Fun stuff. This is also why I want to try and get through these guys today. Speaking of the Discord, quick reminder, pop over to the Discord if you haven't already. In the real-time painting channel, I would like to invite all listeners to post your work in progress shots, photos of your finished minis, and any other hobby and art related things you want to share. Got the link in the description on YouTube. I've also dropped it into the chat. I'm a tired boy, so I got my coffee rocking and a Yeti mug. I see Comstar Knight and Audible Jello have already just been going at it in the chat, going at it in a good way. Just blowing up the chat. Happy to see these fellas, the regulars. Alrighty. I'm going to double check the stream health here quickly before we pop over to the painting desk. Everything seems good. What's going on, White Fox? Facecam, yes. That's made that an addition when I started doing the gaming on Mondays, which we will be doing this Monday because I'm healthy again. So, barring sudden plague, which is still a possibility, we will be streaming on Monday. We'll do Mech Warrior Monday, continue on with some Mech Warrior 4 Vengeance. It'll be good stuff. What's going on, Comstar Knight? I'm doing well. A lot better this Saturday than I was last Saturday. Last Saturday I was on the slippery slope of illness. No Diet Coke right now. I'll probably get one when we take a break in like an hour and a half or so. But right now I got my coffee. Oh, wrong way. There we go. Coffee and water. Alrighty. Stream looks good. I'm going to pop over to the painting desk. Thusly. Oh. Just going to swap over the microphones here quickly. Shaboom. Okie dokie. To minimize something here on my PC. There. Gonna change the tunes here as well. Actually, we're gonna do this. There we go. Let me know if the music is too loud in the chat. Should be good to go, but you know, you never know. Alrighty. So we have our Taric mounted infantry. Got all four of them sitting here. I'm going to go ahead and start blocking in some things. I'm probably going to block these in with black, and then I'll layer up with some other colors. You yeah, it's just the easiest color to kind of block these things in with. I'm going to use a number 2 brush. I don't need to use anything smaller than that. No regular rum and Coke. Regular rum, regular Coke. That's the way to do it. What kind of rum, though? That's the real question. I'm a big fan of Mount Gay. Hilarious name, but honestly, a really good spice rum. I quite enjoy it. I'm honestly just looking to see what is what here on the sides of these dudes. Because they look kind of hilarious. Where's the hoodoo? The hoodoo is here. Boom. There's just the one that has the hoodoo. Draw it on my brush pretty quickly. I always enjoy this step because once you block everything in with black and kind of base coat the base, you kind of break everything up into their component parts. Just looks really nice. It's a satisfying step, and it just kind of makes it feel a little bit more complete, because right now everything's kind of monochromatic in a way. I mean, there's a lot of contrast going on, but you know what I mean. It's everything's just kind of the same color scheme. This is where it really kind of gets broken up and changed, and you start delineating things. You ever 3D print? I used to. I had an Elegoo Mars Pro, as well as a Elegoo Saturn. I also had an Ender 3 Pro, which never really, no matter how hard I tried, I could never get it to print consistently. Whereas the Mars and the Saturn were pretty much plug and play. Like, there wasn't a lot of tuning involved. But yeah, the Ender 3 was a bit of a pain in the ass. So I definitely printed a number of things off of it, but not as much as I would have liked. And they were never good quality. I actually had a Z-axis tilt for a little while. It just kind of crept in over time somehow. It's very bizarre. Had to work that out, and then I just kept getting bed level issues no matter how hard I tried. And I just didn't feel like putting extra money into like getting an auto bed leveling system for it, because it's such a cheap 3D printer. I would have spent as much as money doing that as I did on the printer. And even then, it likely wouldn't have been great quality anyways. So when my wife got pregnant, I decided to downsize a few of my hobby related things, just because I don't have a huge house and needed the space. Kind of had to give up the 3D printing space, and especially with I've already got animals, but having a little kid as well, just with harsh chemicals and things like that, didn't really seem right at the time. Maybe once my daughter's older and if I'm living in a larger place and I have the space. Trying to get around the edge of this collar without getting a bunch of black on the fleshy area. I'm essentially done with all the fleshy area. I don't really need to do anything else to it. I'm going to paint areas of the face a little bit, and probably do a few spots on the neck hide as well as a bit on the tail, but that's about it. Fill that area. That'll be saddle. I'm just making it saddle. These are kind of the arms here of the Tark itself, so I'm not gonna paint that. Seems like the legs just kind of come down here and sit there. This part of the saddle on the back left side of this guy. This will be a bit of a tedious process, but it is worthwhile. I'm gonna have to be very picky with the color tones that I pick for kind of the saddle gear, because I don't want the colors to just blend in with everything else around it. So all your 3D printing stuff's out in the garage. I unfortunately live in Canada, so I would need like an insulated, heated garage to do that in. Because wintertime, like unheated, uninsulated garages will be like -30. Too cold. And I don't know, I've thought about like building like a fume extraction setup to pull fumes out of a window in my office, but I just don't really have the space. Plus my wife is working in here now, so got to share the space. It's unfortunate, but you know, just is what it is. I think once I block in all the details on all these dudes with the black, I'm going to base coat everything on the bases. I'm not going to leave them in the current color scheme. I'm probably going to have them be a lot more traditional desert-like, just to bring the basing color tone away from that of the Tark, as well as away from the color scheme of the infantry. And the reason I want to do that is just to create a lot of subtle variation, so things actually kind of stand out on the base. Real time, obviously, like everything would probably be camouflaged really well, as much as practical, anyways. But in the miniature painting world, we actually want to be able to see the things that we're trying to put on display. So unfortunately, a bit of a boring, monotonous step, but you know, such is life. This is so the middle dude here, as well as the middle dude on every single one of these bases, has like a little backpack with an antenna sticking up Those are little additions I put on. It's just because I kind of felt like each little team here, squad, section, whatever you want to call them, I felt like they should have some obvious means of communication. And it's just a nice little touch. It's a pretty easy addition of green stuff and a little bit of bead-along bead stringing wire, which is what I use for all of my antennas. Well, almost all of my antennas. I've used like steel and brass rod for a few of them, and yeah, but mostly bead-along. Sorry, my hair is kind of blocking out part of the view there. Fox 86, evening y'all. What's going on, dude? Was just curious. I have a custom mini that I'm releasing as a collab with a 3D artist as a Halloween boss, like the Black Marauder. Nice. That's pretty cool. Wouldn't mind seeing that in the real-time painting channel on Discord. Be more than happy to give some feedback on it. On to the next guy here. Hey, thoughts on that Gothic Marauder? The Gothic Marauder looks great, actually. I'm assuming you're talking about the one that was painted up with like the Comstar mechs and like that Hellscape gateway thing, because that was pretty sick. That was you that painted that, right, Comstar Knight? White Fox, I already have some others that I have printed and working on painting it as well. Comstar Knight, yep. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Actually, I was going to showcase that at the end. Because, yeah, I really quite enjoy the little series of photos that you shared. Kind of tells a fun little story. Like the 4 mechs, like, what is this? Just looking at the gate, and then all of a sudden, boom! Suddenly, Demonic Marauder. Try to paint the top of this guy relatively quickly here. Love painting that Marauder. Oh, I bet. Super neat. Like, I really enjoyed that whole aesthetic. I know Elder Jester Minis did a pretty cool diorama recently in a very similar theme as yours, just like kind of like demonic gateway, but with like monster tentacles coming out, pulling in all of the gothic mechs as they like struggle to fight back. It's pretty cool. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I quite enjoyed the little dioramas that he has been doing. I've kind of like wanted to do a few like that myself. I might actually do a couple in the not too distant future because those seem fun. I'll just copy, paste. Not really, but you know, it's a cool idea. I want to do it as well. Definitely won't do the same diorama ideas, but you know, I like the whole idea of doing little vignettes like that. I do them oftentimes just within my own basing, but doing it just on an actual diorama like that, it's kind of cool. I think for me, storage would be the real issue. So I'm already kind of busting at the seams with Battletech shit. Just wargaming shit in general. And I don't really wargame that much. I wish I could. Wish I wargamed a lot more often, but I just don't really have people around me that play a lot of miniature war games, and my wife is unfortunately a bit tired of humoring me. So especially with the little one, definitely makes trying to get games in hard. I think the closest, best option I would have is going to Winnipeg, which is a 2-hour drive, and that's just not reasonable for me, anyways. I don't think, anyways. I'm just realizing I've got like this body strap on all of these Tarkim that I gotta paint here. Be a little bit difficult on a few of them to do this strap, but it's like right underneath on a few of them, but that's okay. Get underneath this little section. Just paint that line. Can't really do it underneath this one. Not really, anyways. It's just not really feasible. So we'll just have to be okay with that. That's fine. We can't really see it anyways. I'm just noticing a few areas I need to reinforce with a little bit of black here. Okay, this one down. We got a few to go. Oh. All right. Yeah, I love Elders. He did a great job with that. Scorpion getting dragged into the goo was awesome. Scale choice was a bit weird, but they're not that far off. Guess it allows some of the finer details necessary with the theme. Yeah, definitely. Scale's a funny thing that way. Hydration break. Weird question, but I've wanted to do a painting stream too. Does YouTube only give you 12 hours to start streaming? I'm not aware of that. Yeah, I haven't noticed. I'm not aware of any limitations. Like I just started streaming. I've had a YouTube account for a few years, like an Arclight minis one. Pardon me. Um, so yeah, I um, I just use OBS Studios and I use a couple plugins so I can dual stream to Twitch as well as YouTube. I'm just gonna grab a coffee here. Post the screenshot in Discord. Okay, sounds good. When we take a break to chat and stretch our legs, I'll take a peek. All right. I'll just do a quick little side by side comparison here, so you can kind of see, like it's not a big change, but having these guys blocked in with the black, just a bit of contrast. It's a nice little change. Pardon me snorting if you heard me doing that. I'm still getting rid of a lot of the phlegm from the illness, from the virus. Dirty, dirty virus my daughter dropped off to my wife and I. I love daycare, but my goodness, it's a cesspool. And I get it, kids are filthy little creatures. They always put everything in their mouths and love them to death, but my goodness. They are just trying to kill us and themselves at all times with illness. Just trying to find these areas where I can move a little bit more quickly with my brush, just to get a little bit more coverage more quickly. I do apologize with some of these angles. I'm just trying to work as quickly as I can here because this is not exactly a very enjoyable or entertaining step to do and actually perform. Get that little side belly strap there. Taller. Get the edge of that saddle piece without getting the arm. It's a little bit tricky in some of these spots. And continue to hold my brush like a 2-year-old at times, but man, it just works. Oh, it looks like first time stream is locked. Never streamed to YouTube before, so our Google overlords want to make sure I'm super serial. Interesting. Brought my son went to daycare and came back with the plague. Yep. So, Arclight, have you tried Alpha Strike? If not, recommend a 25 PV list of Chargers and Black Knight, Red Reaper. Just change everything and charge everything in sight. I've definitely played a lot of Alpha Strike. I've never actually really played Classic. Just haven't. I've watched games of Classic, like in person as well as on YouTube, and they're very entertaining. But it's just not my style of gameplay. I find a little bit slow and crunchy. In the right setting, it definitely seems like it's entertaining, but I definitely like playing the more fast-paced Alpha Strike. I also enjoy playing the Death from Above Wargaming override system. It's kind of the best of both worlds. Best of both worlds. My goodness, can't speak. When it comes to the gameplay, like it's pretty fast-paced, but has a lot of variety and unique flavor in the way that Classic does. It's pretty fun. But yeah, doing the Chargers and Black Knights definitely sounds really, really fun. I'm a big fan of Chargers, especially the Charger C, like the clan one, like the Charger clan. It's hilarious. It has an insane movement profile. I think in Alpha Strike it has like a baseline movement of 14 or 16 or something like that. It's ridiculous. It's a crazy, because it has a supercharger. It just moves insanely fast. I'm gonna zoom this out slightly here. Chargers and Classic are fantastic. Yeah, actually, one of the games that I've seen in person was there was a Charger C in the game, and you know, just on the hex board, it was moving an incredible amount. Yeah, Chargers in general, like if you're using the right variant, like they're really good, but you have to use them the right way. Like you have to get right in people's faces and not be scared to just die. My light down here slightly. Open and see Chargers painted up like Master Chief. Yeah, I've seen a couple actually, like green Chargers with the like the bronze like eye shield. Quite the bass line on this song. head. I can get a bit of a better view kind of underneath this thing. I'm actually debating what color I want to paint these guys. I might actually paint them in like kind of a faded olive drab. Yeah, they're from like the Outworlds and Taurian areas, so it's not like they have a lot of money anyways or resources for military hardware necessarily, especially in the Outworlds. Like they're more of a naval force as opposed to ground pounders. So we can just chalk it up to like, hey, you know, their supply system just doesn't have like proper desert camo. So they just have this like sun faded khakis and olive drab. And then that can, you know, add a little bit of extra variation. That way the actual dudes on these animals kind of pop and you can see them. Got a little bit of black paint there where I didn't want to. Just going to kind of scrub that off a little bit. These fiddly reins here are always a little bit well, fiddly and kind of annoying to paint because I don't want to get the area in the middle, but I want to get right down to the very bottom of the edge on these reins. That way the black is all the way into the recesses, just for that shading when we start layering up with other colors here. Suppose we'll have to kind of go through each of these Tarek and do their faces. I might start with this base and do it backwards to the other one that we just did, and then continue on with the remaining two. Trying to move as quickly as I can here on the upper portion of this guy. Felt like it took a long time on the middle dude. Again, just around these reins, I'm trying to be careful and go right down to the bottom of the edges of them. Make sure that I get full coverage without making a mess around them. Pretty much finished this side. I'll go over to the other one in a second. Briefly glanced up at the chat and saw a comment regarding cats. I'm gonna have to take a closer look at that in a second. done with this guy. Boom. Good. Alrighty. Your hair is fantastic. You look like I look like the Jerome Blake. So my hair is running away. Yeah, I got some pretty thick bangs. I'm starting to get some grays in it, but you know, it is what it is. I'll take grays over no hair. So, dude, my cats are such freeloaders. They'll yell at me for an hour. Then when I finally feed them, they eat 3 bites and run to the other room. Oh, dude, I hate that. I've got 3 cats, so I feel ya. I've got one that's a super picky eater, and he's a big-time diva. I'll tell you that for free. Yeah. Got my cat yelling at me right now. Little attention fiend. LOL. Nice. Gray is better than no hair, definitely. 30 plus equals grays. Love the grays. It's definitely not necessarily an age thing, because I have a dude, Tyler, that I was friends with when I was like 17. I wasn't super close with the guy, but he was like a friend of a friend. So we hung out kind of infrequently. But this guy at the age of 19 had straight up salt and pepper hair. Just terrible pigmentation genetics when it comes to his hair. And I guess his dad was kind of that way. Like his dad had straight up like white, like silver fox hair at like the age of like 26. I lost touch with the guy after I moved away from Edmonton like a year later, so I imagine he ended up with silver fox hair probably at around the same age, because like he had legit salt and pepper hair at the age of 19. It was nuts. Okay, I think these guys are good. I'm just gonna come and like paint the mouths quickly, as well as the eyes. Just kind of along these teeth lines. I'll come back in and do a little bit of work on those, but just these little eye holes and the teeth. I'll do the other sides. The dude's got like a big snarl going on here. It's got some big chompers compared to the other two. I'll go back to the first one that we did with the blocking in, and I'll quickly do the eyes and mouths. There we go. Started getting grays when I was in my 20s. Makes you look distinguished, in quotes. Graying in your teens might be thyroid or kidney issues. Assuming Canadian healthcare, he was fine. Yeah, who knows? I mean, like, you know, Canadian healthcare being what it is, like, it's kind of meh. Like, it's good for routine stuff. but when it comes to anything remotely specialized, I think we fall behind in many areas. But it's nice not having to pay like $100 for a doctor visit. Even if you're just paying a deductible off of that doctor's visit. I used to. So, fun story. I used to work in U.S. health insurance claims. Fresh out of high school, I moved to Toronto from the Edmonton area with my family, and I got hired by a company called Canadian Medical Networks, which was owned by Europe Assistance, which was owned by Generali Insurance. I did a lot of claim work, and just seeing the cost involved in just routine healthcare in the States was kind of appalling to me. But one thing that you folks definitely had, at least at the time in 2010 through 2016, wait times didn't seem bad for a lot of things in the States, at least in comparison to what I experience up here. Wait times for specialists and even just like diagnostic imaging are pretty brutal. Like, people will wait months for MRIs. It doesn't really make any sense. Like, they don't cost you anything, but you might literally die of something before you actually get imaging of the thing that's killing you. It's kind of crazy. It's a very common issue here. And meanwhile, there's actually a couple Canadians who were traveling abroad recently, and they kind of went viral. They had, I guess the husband had been trying to get imaging of his liver or something, like some part of his body. He's trying to get an MRI and was on like a 1.5 year long wait list in Canada, and was traveling in China with his wife or fiance, and they just stopped into a diagnostic imaging clinic, and they're just like, oh yeah, for sure, we can just give you an MRI. It would cost them like $100 or something like that, and they were on their way in like 30 minutes. And everybody was just like, what? Like, how? Like, why is that not a thing here? We also wait for healthcare just because we can't afford it. We just wait until it's an emergency. Yeah, and that's what I've heard. It's a different kind of waiting. Like, most people are just very averse to actually utilizing healthcare in the US. Whereas I think because it's free in Canada, so many people use it so frequently that it's almost overburdened. Because we just don't have enough doctors, nurses, and pharmacists, and just healthcare workers in general, technicians. Like, we just don't have enough. And unfortunately, so the running joke for, at least in the Canadian Forces, is of all medical classes, the top 1/3 go to the States to work, the middle third stay within Canada and work in the civilian world, and then the bottom 1/3 join the military and work as like medics and doctors in the army. It's the running joke, but it's also kind of true. So we tend to bleed a lot of our specialty knowledge to the US and other countries because we don't pay our doctors a lot of money for what they do. Just personal anecdote, my cousin-in-law, like my wife's cousin, I won't say names, but her fiance, boyfriend at a minimum, they've been together for a couple of years, but he is a neurosurgeon. He finished schooling a 1.5 years ago, and they moved to Boston from Edmonton because he got a job there, making an incredible amount of money compared to what he would have made in Canada. So, I mean, that just kind of speaks for itself. And we had a brief conversation about it, and yeah, he was like, yeah, like, why would we, be overworked, overburdened, when we can go and work somewhere where we make more money and maybe aren't quite as burdened. And even if we are burdened the same way, at least they're making more money for the burden. And especially something like being a neurosurgeon, like, that's quite the specialty. He has a lot of purchasing power when it comes to deciding where he wants to work. Like, he pretty much gets to pick where he wants to work for the most part. Aside from like very prestigious medical institutions, like, maybe like the Mayo Clinic or the Cleveland Clinic, something like that, they might be like, okay, well, hold on, pal. Let's see your credentials first. Let's see, how much experience you have. But otherwise, most hospitals are going to be like, neurosurgeon? Yeah, come on in, pal. Still largely okay with the whole wait time thing here. Imaging labs and whatnot are pretty quick to get. Are you talking about the States there, Nighthawk, or Canada? Because I was going to say my experience in Canada is very different. If you're talking about the States, that makes sense. U.S. doctors don't make a lot of money either. They put a lot into student loans, malpractice insurance. Private practice doctors, specialists make the money. Yeah, and that's largely who goes south of the border for us, is all of the specialty practices, which is what we need. That's what we desperately need to hold on to. There's a lot of the provinces that are starting to talk about trying to maybe put in regulations where if you, like, especially for international students, we have a lot of international students that come from places like Nigeria and India, Pakistan, and they do schooling here for cheap, and they just go wherever they want to work, whoever will take them, not necessarily stay in Canada to work. A lot of the provinces are thinking about making it mandatory that if you get schooling within one of the provinces, you have to stay in that province and work as a health, in your field for X number of years, which I think is honestly, I think that's probably fair. If you're going to come to Manitoba and go to schooling, do schooling at Brandon University, because it's dirt cheap, but also has like an incredibly well done and reputable medical program, well, you should have to give back to the province for the fact that you got that cheap education that's partially paid for by taxes, because the government subsidizes all these schools. So it's yeah, I think they should. I know a lot of people aren't happy about that, but we need doctors, we need nurses, we need specialists, and if people are just going to keep trying to go out of province to get cheap schooling and then go to a different place, well, maybe you should give back to the place that's giving you the cheap schooling first. But maybe that's communist thinking, I don't know. Maybe that's the communist in me, I guess. Definitely don't feel like a communist most days, but maybe I'm a secret communist, I don't know. The state controls everything. I definitely don't think the state should control a lot of things, but I think things like that, I think there's a reason why the state exists, and it's to step in and regulate when regulations need to happen. And I think that's probably a regulation that should take place for at least a period of time in Canada. Help bolster our healthcare system, because it is crumbling right now. But if you want to see private practice specialists in the States, comes with a big bill if you don't pay a few $1,000s per year into insurance. Yeah. Unfortunate. LOL, regulation is completely out of the door here in America. Out the door, what do you mean? Like it just doesn't happen, or it's just like poorly run regulation? What do you mean by that? It's not being enforced. Yeah, that's unfortunate. And unfortunately, that's just because there's a lot of money in certain areas of the healthcare world when it comes to the states. Big Pharma is a big one. It's just it is what it is. Unfortunately, those companies don't really they don't have a vested interest in people being healthy, and they don't have a vested interest in actually curing anybody with their stuff. Their sole purpose is profit. Because of that, they have a lot of influence in different areas of medicine that they really shouldn't. It's quite unfortunate. Yeah, it's not to say that they don't have some good products, but that do some good things. But man, they have a lot of bullshit products too. And yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot that could be said about the FDA and Big Pharma and all that stuff. HMOs. I definitely didn't enjoy my time working in U.S. health claims. It was a bit of a soul-sucking job for a number of reasons, especially having to deny claims on people where in my mind I felt they deserved the treatment, and policy being what it is. Sorry. I had one case in particular. It was a fella who I'd been handling claims on his medical case for the better part of a year. And then unfortunately the gentleman passed, died of a cancer. And there was some weirdness with the policy and how it was initiated, and there's a lot of legalese on the back end that I wasn't exactly privy to as just like a claims adjudicator, an arbitrator. But ultimately, all of the claims that they had been paying into for the past year plus leading up to his death, they decided to reverse their coverage decision post-mortem, basically citing pre-existing conditions as their reasoning. And then what they did was claw all the money back and send everything to collections for the people attached to the individual's estate. So basically this person died, and then shortly thereafter his estate was charged with I can't remember the exact amount, but it was in the millions, like several $1 million. I think it was like $3 or $4 million worth of medical charges that were being charged to this person's family, just because the insurance company wasn't happy with how much money they had paid in. Yeah, I don't really, again, I'm not privy to all the knowledge and decision making behind the scenes. Like, maybe there was a legitimate reason, but knowing what I know about that industry, I doubt it. They probably found a loophole to avoid paying any more charges, and that loophole probably also gave them an excuse to try to claw back the money, because at that point the family could fight, but it would cost the family money, and that insurance company would have been able to, in perpetuity, take that family to court until they were bankrupt, and then they would just have to, I don't know, give up or settle for a tiny amount that's not even close to what is worthwhile, and they would still be at a loss. And that was one of those days where I was just like, I don't really want to do this anymore. So I joined the military. Yeah, it was definitely, it was interesting because we did a lot of, so I did like a bit of arbitration, basically like looking at certain medical charges on itemized bills and trying to find basically shenanigans that, healthcare providers were pulling with charging, overcharging for certain things in order to negotiate, lower charges. Which, that was also the greasy thing that I found is, if you're uninsured, you just have a standard bill amount. But if you're an insurance company, you get prorated discounts based on, like if you're a preferred provider organization or an HMO, and if you have pre-existing contracts or just like good rapport with certain, like if your insurance company has good rapport with certain healthcare providers, you can get like straight up 30% discounts across all medical charges, or like we had certain high dollar bills, like for example, somebody went in for a heart attack and they're in the hospital for 4 or 5 days. Total hospital charges come to, we'll call it $100K, which was pretty standard, and honestly on the lower end of a lot of heart attacks and heart attack bills. But the insurance company would negotiate and be like, okay, well, we will process these claims and pay and courier the payment to you within 48 hours if you give us a 70% discount. And a lot of times just have the guarantee of that's still a sizable chunk of money immediately. The healthcare providers will just be like, yeah, sure. So because the insurance company has the deep pockets that they can reach into and just throw money at things, they're able to get hefty discounts because of it. Whereas the normal mom and pop Joe Blow just can't do that. It's just kind of another example of the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. It was a very eye-opening job for a number of reasons, actually. Like I got hired in the mailroom at this company. So go back even further. So I grew up in Alberta. I graduated high school in Edmonton, and then immediately after graduating, I moved with my family to Southern Ontario, to the Toronto area, because my dad was being medically released from the military. And we wanted to be close to extended family because we had none out west where we were. We were the only ones. So right after high school, started looking for work. Didn't really know what I wanted to do for schooling, so I didn't want to go to school and waste money. And I got hired in the mailroom at this company right out of high school. And pretty quickly got moved just into the claims processing department because I had a good director who was just like, hey man, you look bored. Like, you could probably do more than like sorting mail and scanning things into our system. And I was like, oh yeah, probably. Thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, slowly moved up the ladder, but I worked there for 6 years, almost exactly. And I very quickly, I went from high school to working with, people that were in their, I was one of the youngest people in my company, if not the youngest. And most of the people were anywhere from late 20s to, early 50s. And they all seemed so childish in so many ways, just very cliquey and neurotic and fussy, gossipy. It just felt like high school all over again, especially working in an office. It was just it was entertaining, eye-opening, illuminating. I was just like, oh, adults are just big kids. It made me not take things too seriously or as seriously as I might have otherwise. Had I gone to school, like continued going to school and gone the university route and then entered the professional world later on, I don't think I would have had that veil lifted from my eyes the same way. Yeah, it was crazy to me. And then there was several individuals working in my department that had master's degrees in various things. And there's also a person who was like a chiropractor and like a physiotherapist, and they were working in the claims department processing medical claims. And it's just like, man, why are you people here? Like, that's, the people with the master's degrees, we were doing the same job at one, I climbed the ladder at a steady rate. And by the time, so my company ended up downsizing, service centers, our service center closed, and they kept a different one open. But yeah, these people, me and these people were making the same amount of money, and I had no education. And it just felt very bizarre to me, people with, 6, 7, 8 years of university education working in a job, and they're making the same amount as me, and I was 22, 23 years old. It's very strange. Doing the exact same thing. And that kind of reinforced my decision to have, having not gone to university. I definitely think doing a technical trade or something like that's totally worthwhile, going to school for that, because you're learning an applied skill. Or if you're going into the sciences, because that's also kind of an applied skill in a way. It's a scientific trade, if you will, if you're becoming a scientist or an engineer or something like that. But there's so many courses in university that just don't seem to really bode well for giving you good work, other than the fact that hey, this person can show that they can sit and go through classes for 4 extra years and invest in their future. Yeah, sure, we'll hire this person. And it seems like most people just do it to pad their resumes. And I just don't think that that's worth student loan debt to me. My wife went to school for registered massage therapy and worked as a massage therapist for a while, but then just decided she didn't really actually enjoy doing it, unfortunately. So, she paid off the student loans pretty quickly, actually. I think it was 7 or 8 years she paid them off. But yeah, she just works in telecom. Audible Jello, my biggest hit against U.S. healthcare was seeing a guy with hepatitis needing meds. His insurance didn't cover the life-saving meds he needs. Cost him $12,000 U.S. every 3 months. That's insane, man. Yeah, drugs are significantly less expensive here. That is definitely one thing I know for sure. Like just at a baseline, even after insurance coverage in the States, you folks pay an exorbitant amount. Audible Jello, politics, lobbying aside, I love explaining the Torian Concordat's way of saying, y'all said no nukes. We're going to defend our planets with them. Hippity hoppity, get off my property. I love Torians, 100%. Space Texas, but not really. It's Space Texas with authoritarianism. That's what it is. I really quite hate corporate environments. Yeah, me too. I didn't enjoy it. Just a lot of fake people. Overqualified people hanging out. The tenured people. Newbies. Comstar Knight. I'm logistics, so more mechanicus than Comstar. What kind of logistics do you work in? Like military, civilian? And if you're in civilian, like what sector? Very curious. I had like a very brief stint working in a logistics center. It's a 1 by 2 kilometer building. Insane. So it's, you know, basically like 2/3 of a mile by 1 1/4 mile building. Massive building. Vitram Logistics out of Caledon, Ontario. Did that for a few weeks when I first moved to Ontario before getting the office job. It was just a bit of a far drive from where I lived at the time, which is why I didn't continue. But it worked out for the best because the office job paid well. At least for what the work was. And it worked well with my training schedule at the time because I was competing in boxing, a lot of amateur boxing at the time. So I kind of wanted something that was Monday to Friday, daytime hours. That way I could hit the gym in the evening, train for 2-3 hours, go home, eat, play a little bit of video games, go to sleep, do it all over again. The grind, baby. The grind. It's good times, though, I will say. Definitely helped develop a good work ethic as a young man. I definitely could have done with getting more sleep, though. I had a habit of staying up far too late and waking up far too late and showing up to work late far too often. But, you know, got my work done. So I got my work done better than most within my company and department. So, like, I actually ended up having one of our biggest clients that my service center serviced toward the end of the service center's existence. But it was opportune timing because by the time I found out I was going to be getting laid off 6 months from that point, I had already had my application in with the military, so it's just playing the waiting game at that point. Then I got a job at a gun range in the interim for about a year before going off to basic. That was a fun year, actually. Just working at my local gun club. It was an indoor gun range. Target Sports Canada out of Gormley, Ontario. It's owned by J.R. Cox. He also owns the Shooting Edge in Calgary, Alberta. It's a fun spot. They do like walk-in shoots. So if you're unlicensed shooter, you can just come in and go out with a range safety officer and shoot ARs, handguns, shotguns, different rifles, revolvers, shit like that. So I did that, took like unlicensed shooters out. That was a bit of a scary job. I almost died a couple times. Legit, like just people fumbling with guns. It's a scary thing, especially if people get like a hot casing down their shirt or something like that. That's always a bit bit of a precarious situation, having them do the hot potato dance while they've got a loaded pistol in their hand. But had some pretty good techniques for getting guns out of people's hands in a hurry. So it was definitely like a high situational awareness job, but it was honestly probably a good thing, especially heading into the infantry role that I'm currently in. Just gave me a bit of a bigger appreciation for weapon safety and weapon handling, and just, you know, staying on your toes, staying alert, being aware of what's going on around you. Surprised that exists in Canada? Yeah, most people are surprised. Especially a lot of people in Canada. A lot of people are very shocked. Like, oh my god, I can't believe I can shoot an AR-15. And I think that the biggest thing most people are shocked at is when they come in, you know, we would always, like, you know, just almost as a joke, we would steer people toward the AR-15 pretty much immediately. We're like, oh, I don't, you know, I'm kind of scared. We'd be like, shoot the AR. They'd be like, oh, no, that's crazy. That'll, like, blow my shoulder out. And be like, no, this is literally the easiest gun to shoot in this entire building, other than the 22 that we have over there. And they'd be like, what? No, absolutely not. Like, there's no way. And, you know, like, we'd be like, no, like, that little handgun right there is actually one of the harder things to shoot in this place. And they'd be like, what do you mean? It's so small. Like, there's no way. Like, there's no way that big gun is easier to shoot than this one. And you get them out on the range, and they'd fire a few rounds out of a, you know, just a Glock 17 with 9mm, and they'd be like, oh my god, like, this thing's so hard to aim. Like, and, you know, you get them behind an AR-15 with a red dot sight. It's just child's play. You know, they'd get a few rounds out, they'd get over the, you know, the flash and the bark coming out the end, and get a little grin on their face, and like, holy hell, like, this is way easier than I thought. It's like, yeah, it's why the military loves using them. That's why people love shooting them. It's because you can do, you know, you can shoot fast. It feels fun. It's a pretty, just a cool experience. But you know, unfortunately, it's a deeply misunderstood hobby. And you know, I get it. It's a public safety concern, but I think it's just ignorance, unfortunately, is what belies it. I need to go sight my pistol. Nice. What pistol you got? Canada's got a lot of guns, like 8th in the world for gun ownership. Yeah, we have a ton, because we have tons of hunters. Like insane amount of hunting, especially where I live. Like I can shoot deer 10 minutes from my house, not even. And that's just crown land. And there's also tons of farm field. I mean, realistically, I could shoot deer 2 minutes from my house if I talk to the farmers that own the land. And I could get deer, because they're everywhere. But yeah, tons of hunters, tons of sportsmen. Like, I shot a lot of IDPA. I had a lot of friends that shot IPSC, like pistol shooting competitions. I had a lot of friends that do 3-gun. Unfortunately, 3-gun's just not a thing anymore, because we can't use ARs because of the ban. Like, I can still use my handgun even though there's the handgun ban, but the ARs are just relegated to being safe queens now. So yeah, I have a pretty well decked out AR because I have night vision and all that stuff. So Danielle, it's my Daniel Defense M4V5. It's got a 12.5-inch carbine length barrel, carbine length gas system. Geisley super semi-automatic enhanced trigger. Steiner D-ball on it. And I know, yes, Steiner D-ball. It's a Steiner Optics laser sighting system. I also got a Surefire M300V, which is their Vampire series IR flashlight, but it's also got white light. Then I've got some Troy Industries flip up backup iron sights that have tritium dots in them, so they're night sights as well. And then I've got a Aimpoint T1 micro red dot that's night vision compatible as well on it. Everything, as you can see, the theme is night vision compatibility, so it is just decked out to the tits. It's like a $7,000 rifle build, and it is just relegated to my safe. Gotta love it. Thanks, Trudeau. And I'm a responsible gun owner. Like I follow the rules. I always double lock everything, and I never store my ammo with my weapons. I use capped mags that are, we have our magazine capacity limits. They're very arbitrary, but I follow the rules just like everybody else. And the people that don't follow the rules are the criminals, and the criminals aren't even using legally purchased firearms. It's well documented that over 90% of the firearms used in crimes in Canada are ones that have been illegally smuggled from the US. So no amount of gun laws are going to prevent that. That's all about, anti-smuggling operations that need to actually take place. Not try to tramp down on my weekend fun with my friends. Man, I used to spend a lot of money on ammo, I'll tell you that. I used to go through about 700 or 800 rounds of 9mm a week, and probably 300 to 400 rounds of 223 or 5.56 every week. So I was spending about I was probably spending about, and this would have been, back 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019 time period. I would have been spending probably probably about $500 a week on ammo. It's quite a bit. But I was also, I wasn't single. I had my wife, but, we were just calm along at the time. But didn't really have any responsibilities other than our basic bills. So I could afford to do it. Can't afford to do that now. I do wish, though. It was fun. Used to play a lot of airsoft as well. Traveled to the States a couple times to do that. That was fun. But there's quite a big airsoft community in Southern Ontario. And there's some pretty cool locations to play at as well. Unfortunately, one of them is now closed down for good, but because it's kind of condemned. But it's actually an old Canadian Forces military medical facility. Was called PRZ or PRZ paintball, but we used to rent it out for airsoft. And RCMP and I'm fairly certain JTF2 also used to use that place to train occasionally, because there would be simunitions quite frequently all around, and there would be in a lot of the rooms there was mouse holes in between each room, and you could see on some of the walls, there was scorch marks where wall charges had been planted. So it's definitely a cool ambiance to that whole spot, because you definitely knew cool guys were going through there and practicing their shit, and then we were going through practicing our super nerdy LARPing. The immersions, man. The immersions. Just trying to make sure I don't miss any of these little strap bits underneath. Just got one on this side. Oh, I just noticed I accidentally tapped 2 spots with black there. That's totally fine. I was already planning on doing a few spots on these guys, but I wasn't planning on doing it with black. I'll just have to cover that up with the green that I'm going to be using. All right. I have my grandpa's old Smith & Wesson 39-2 9mm, nice. Ooh, Daniel Defense, sweet, yeah. I really enjoy it. It's a fun gun, pretty good quality. 357 revolver with lever action, and my range gun, coach gun for home defense. Cause tally ho, lads. I still need a pump action 20 gauge for home defense. Pump action shotgun makes the second scariest sound a gun can make. Most people will turn away when they hear chuck chuck. Sorry I'm late, boss. Hope this doesn't dock my pay. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing great, Scott. Yeah, I think a 12 gauge is perfectly fine for home defense, especially if you're just using buckshot. Like you're not going to get a ton of over penetration with buckshot, and it's like you can blow through walls, but the moment you hit a stud with buckshot, it's going to stop the BBs. So ultimately, when it comes to home defense, you should be extremely prejudiced with what you're shooting. Like you should be, and I mean prejudice as in you should be very diligent about being sure that what you are about to shoot is what you want to shoot. So I would argue that 12 gauge is probably perfectly sufficient, and 12 gauge buckshot would probably be what I would use. Unfortunately, in Canada, we're not allowed to use weapons for home defense. It is a crime. Yes, that is true. I'm not lying about that. Scotty, overpenetration. I overpenetrate all the time. Heyo. 2 inches going a million miles an hour. Don't feel like 2 inches, dog. Giggity. Alrighty. We have all these guys blocked in here. I think I'm going to take a quick pause here. We'll just, I'm going to stretch my legs. And then, yeah, we'll come back. We're going to paint the bases. And then once we paint the bases, we'll crack on with the rest of the details. I just want to swap it up. I think painting the bases and getting the bases basically done will be like a nice touch. Then we can just focus on the final details. That'll be good fun. Alrighty, folks. All right, back from the break just a little bit early here. I think we're back. I think we're a couple minutes early. Cracking my first Diet Coke of the evening. Can't let you guys down. Gonna keep the caffeine drip going. Pump action 20 gauge gets the point across, but doesn't dislocate my shoulder in the process. I'm not saying it's a birdshot 20. Just a scary looking sounding gun. 12 gauge sounds scarier. That's my thoughts. I don't find 12 gauge too bad on the shoulder. Unless I'm using something like Magnum turkey load or something like that, but which is hilarious because technically it's a birdshot, but I mean, holy shit, dude! It's those I think they're 3 or 3.5 inch gold shells rather. My God, dude, brutal, absolutely brutal. That's like one of the hardest kicking shotgun rounds I've ever shot, if not the hardest kicking, like harder than any slug I've shot. Audible Jello, American, Texan speaking, only badly made guns kill people. Only a person with a gun kills another thing with a gun. It is easier to kill another person with a gun than a sword, yes. But England used to ban sword ownership. Yeah. I don't know, like I have a very nuanced opinion when it comes to gun ownership, but like I just think I think you should probably have to pass like a basic safety handling test in order to buy a gun. Just literally like bare minimum. But yeah, what we do in Canada, I think it's a good process. I think it takes way too long. It takes like months and months and months. But I definitely think doing like a basic safety course and then going through that process. And it has a background check. I think if you're a criminal, you relinquish your right to own a firearm. Like a violent criminal, sorry. Like it is what it is. You've now you relinquish your right to vote when you go to jail. You relinquish your right to own a firearm. Sorry. This is. Anyways, let's get to painting. We'll continue this in the at the painting desk. Let's swap over the mics. Okie dokie. Things should be good. Yeah. Move this slightly out of the way. Okay. So for the bases, I'm going to go ahead and grab some chocolate brown. I'm not going to paint the hoodoo yet. I kind of want to leave it as is for now. I'm not exactly sure how I want to do it yet. I don't know what I'm doing there. I'm going to need more than that. Definitely not going to use this brush. I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick clean. Audible Jello, guns are cool. They go boom and make testosterone go burr. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. And I mean, my wife enjoys shooting guns. She doesn't enjoy shooting the big ones, but like she enjoys shooting like 9mm and 22. You know, just because it's fun to plink. You know, just like especially just setting up pop cans and like just literally doing like the most bare bones shoot. It's fun for a lot of people. Skeet shooting's what I really enjoy doing. Skeet and trap shooting. I think that's like a super fun way to shoot. Yeah, you definitely got to be mindful of like safety and everything like that. But I think that's definitely one of my more preferred methods of like, hey, let's go have fun with a group of friends and shoot things. Like that's probably my favorite way to do it. It's just shotguns, shooting at things, at clay birdies flying through the air. I get a lot more moisture in this. Get right up to the edge of the feet here. I want to try to get a relatively even base coat with this chocolate brown. It's okay if if a tiny bit of the purple showing through, but I really want it to be largely dominated just by the chocolate brown. So I want to make sure that it looks significantly different than the Tarics themselves. Pointing a gun at a human, that does not spark joy. No. Well, I mean, for some people it does. Some of whom I know. But that's just by proxy of my occupation. But dark humor for the evening. Where were we? Face painting. But yeah. No, I totally get you. As a normal, as a civilian, it's definitely not something you should have an eagerness for. It's life or death confrontation. Military. Yep. Infantry specifically. So, shoot things, kill things. At least in theory. Although with the advent of drones, it just seems like infantry is just good for dying. Definitely a spooky thing to try to combat. There's not a lot of good solutions right now. And everybody seems very hesitant to make big changes to SOPs. So, yeah. Drones seem scary as shit. An evolutionary reason for psychopaths. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like if you wanted to argue for behavioral genetics, yeah, like I think there's a good argument to make there. And it's usually the the leader who holds primacy over all, who tries to hold on to that as long as possible. Those are usually psychopaths. And you think about how many of the big leaders of the world were like that going through the past. Well, it's most of them. I mean, it's literally most of them. unequivocally. It's pretty obvious. I mean, shit, based on some of their own writings. I gotta get my hands on some basing materials. The only thing I haven't done yet on my minis. I personally, if you, I mean, it's summer's over now, at least in the northern hemisphere. I don't think we have any Aussies in the chat, but um, yeah, if you can get to like a local beach, that's always really good, especially if that local beach has like really fine sand. That's what I have on a lot of my bases, is just sand that I've collected from a beach. It's Grand Beach, actually, just a bit north of Winnipeg. And yeah, I like using that. And then cork, like cork sheets, those are always good. You can kind of break them up and make a bunch of small little bits, medium-sized bits, large bits. You can do kind of like little level changes and stuff like that on larger bases, even smaller bases too, but works really well on the larger bases. And level changes, I mean things like this. It's really handy for that. And it's not expensive. And then I'm also a big fan of milliput, just as like a kind of like, for building up just kind of mounds of soil, quote unquote. It's handy for that. Especially if I want to create like a small slope or something like that, or a little knoll, or just like gently rolling uneven ground, and really want to stick my miniature into it and create like a foot impression. It's really good for stuff like that. Especially if I'm gonna, like, I can actually show you folks after. I have miniatures that I based in the last week while I was sick. It's just doing like assembly, cleanup, and prepping and basing miniatures that I've had sitting around unprepped and unbased. So but yeah, there's a few of them. Like I have tire tracks and track marks in like the ground. I use milliput to do that, so pretty handy for things like that. And then yeah, just various cork bits. There's like Woodland Scenics has a lot of really inexpensive like ballast stuff, like ballast material, and you can get it on Amazon for cheap, as well as just like different hobby sites. In Canada, I use like Sunward Hobbies pretty frequently. They have a lot of really good, like just generic hobby supplies that are good for like all kinds of different hobby terrain styles. So yeah, good for different scales and whatnot too. Also, I'm a big fan of Gamer's Grass, like grass tufts. They have a bunch of good pre-made ones, tons of variety, different sizes, things like that are good at different scales, different colors, combinations. I have some that look like shrubs and stuff like that, like actual like bushes. Pretty nice. Psycho and or sociopath. You need not care about the human at the other end of your doing. Yes. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to war, man, like you can't really have any mercy. Like, and as we're kind of seeing it with Ukraine, and even just how just people have performed from, the Americans, Canadians, Brits in conflicts since World War II. There's been brutalities, and it's just because when you're in life or death situations constantly, it turns people into darker creatures. And unfortunately, there's certain tendencies that will surface, especially if you're within a group of people that are impressionable, and they're bought into the leadership. If the leadership is the one perpetrating these bad tendencies, it'll take hold of a group and a unit very quickly. And that's how you get things like the My Lai massacre in Vietnam and stuff like that, where they literally just slaughter an entire village on a whim. Yeah. But secret project, yeah. I gotta post those photos in for review, but like with the other Camo Specs guys. But I'm very excited to share that one. Worked on it for a while. Pop Chicken, next Saturday is the end of my racing season, and I'm really tempted to paint my helmet. My wife says she wouldn't. Oh, this is going to be a dad joke. My wife said she wouldn't do that if she were me, which is fair. It looks nice already, but I kind of wanna. You ever paint anything like that? Want to paint your helmet, eh? I've never painted a helmet. I've painted lots of guns, camo patterns and things like that, but never a helmet. Actually, no, that's not true. I've painted army helmets, camo patterns. What am I saying? Yeah. But that's it. I've never done like a nice airbrush paint job on a helmet. I do actually have a couple references saved because I stumbled across like just airbrushing pages that airbrush things other than miniatures and canvas art, and I saw a pretty cool way for doing like, it's a technique that makes it look like you have like rivets stamped into the helmet. It's very cool. It's like a lighting and shadow effect that you kind of create just using like a circle stencil and using white and black. I love air. I absolutely love airbrushes. There's so many cool things you can do with them. Like I don't really understand the hate that some people have for them. And I don't know. I will always argue that they're not like an inaccessible thing. There's people. I think there's a lot of people that make excuses for not having one. God, this makes me sound really pretentious. I got to temper this quickly. What I mean by that is the people who are like, oh, it takes up too much space. I disagree. I think if you have a dedicated, as long as you have a dedicated painting space, you can have an airbrush. I keep my airbrush booth up on a shelf out of the way. Before I had this shelving unit to use, I kept it in my closet when I just wasn't using it, and then I would just keep my actual airbrush just like tucked out of the way. The compressor would stay underneath my desk, out of the way, and it was kind of cramped at times, but it worked. I think it's totally viable for a lot of people, but it is a bit of an initial investment, and I think that's honestly the biggest thing that turns a lot of people off is you got to spend like if we're being real, like in US dollars, you're probably going to spend like $700 all in for everything that you need for like a decent airbrush and like all like an airbrush booth and all the cleaning supplies and things like that, and like some airbrush thinner, some flow improver, and some varnishes and things like that, primers, but once you have that initial investment, it's just the upkeep, and the upkeep isn't that expensive. So if you can make it happen financially, it's a kind of a buy once, cry once scenario. because at that point it's just maintenance. As long as you take care of, if you take care of the airbrush, things will be good. If you don't take care of the airbrush, things are going to be bad. You're going to have a bad time. You're going to have a bad time. There's an old army saying, and it's, if you take care of your kit takes care of you. And it's, if you take care of your gear and your equipment, then, when things are going bad, it's going to have your back. So, same is true with an airbrush. They're all tools. Some tools require more maintenance than others, but those tools that require more maintenance than others, it's because they tend to do pretty incredible things. Take a look at this chat quickly here for a minute while I sip on my Diet Coke. Personalizing fresh paint is bad luck. Yeah, you do need to put those photos to review. Yeah, I do. I paint in a closet. There's no airflow. Okay, that makes sense. That's a special situation, painting in a closet. Sorry, Mom, I never meant to hurt you. Never meant to make you cry tonight. I'm painting in my closet. Unless I invest $2K USD to put an air vent into the outside. I also live in Texas. I can survive outside for about 45 minutes. Pretty hot there, right? Yeah, and see, like it. So on the still on the takeover the kitchen table phase of the hobby, like if you don't have a dedicated space, totally makes sense. And if your dedicated space is, well, in a closet, then yeah, it totally makes sense. But if you have like a painting desk in the corner of a home office, you can probably make it work. I would bargain. I would reckon that you can probably make it work. But yeah, painting the closet, that's a lot different. See, for me, I have like a window in my office, but it's not where my painting desk is. So for my main concern is catching all the particulates, because I only ever use acrylics in my airbrush. There's no toxic fumes associated with it, so I'm not really worried about any fumes. I'm just worried about particulates at that point. So, yeah, I just use the airbrush booth to suck away the particulates, and that's about it. Runic Raccoon, thanks for the follow. Pop Chicken never left that phase, really. It's a pain to set up and tear down all the time, but I don't let that be an excuse for skipping out on it. Oh, you still paint at like the kitchen table there, Scotty? When my stepson moves out, I will take his old room to be a hobby room. Nice. Get out of the house, stepson. You're an adult now. Runic Raccoon, I'm bringing the monsters. Nice. What monsters be those? Paint over this rock here. Oh yeah, I'm back on the topic of basing materials. Cork just is really, really fantastic at doing rocks. If you have that cork sheeting, you can really make like a ton of variations of different rocks and rock layers. It's very, very fun. Pardon me. We could really move up in house, but but not with interest rates like they are. Yeah, housing markets across North America are pretty shit right now, especially so in Canada. But I hear the States is getting pretty bad too. Okay, a bit of a tickle in my throat. Kind of nice because some of this like ruddy brown tone is going to kind of show through some of this chocolate brown, so it'll still keep a little bit of that red hue to it. Especially with the purple underneath. This will all kind of have a bit of a red-ish hue to it. It'll be very, very subtle. But the overall look should still be very different than the skin on the Tarek themselves. Just kind of poking into all the recesses there just to make sure I get a good even coverage. I do apologize if you hear me like grunting and like snorting and like choking on my own phlegm, because I'm literally doing all of those things. Still clearing out my chest and my sinuses of all the gunk that I have built up over the last week, and it kind of comes in waves. It's getting better, but it is still very annoying, and especially with talking a lot, it seems to exacerbate it. So maybe I should just shut the fuck up, but I kind of like the sound of my own voice, so I don't know if I want to do that right now. The last base that we need to do with good even coverage. I think we'll go back to the one with the hoodoo on it, and I'll probably paint the hoodoo and the chocolate brown as well. I'm going to thin it down heavily and kind of wash it onto it, but I really want to heavily tint it with the chocolate brown and see if I can keep a lot of the highlighting and shading kind of poking through. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Monster Den Minis rating with a party of 34. What's going on? Thanks for that. That's pretty sick. Much appreciated. This Mechanic Games is now following. Welcome to the community. Thanks, buddy. Oh, Dagroon Denethor now following. Thanks for the follow. Yeah, if you folks don't know, Arclight Minis is part of the reason I paint and work with Catalyst. I don't think he knows either. I definitely didn't know that. Thanks a lot, man. I'm really happy to have inspired you. Big thumbs up. Really appreciate that. Work Drive Dude, thanks for the follow. Man. Big night. That's pretty awesome. Alrighty. Got all the base coated here. I'm just going to go back to that one with the hoodoo here, and I'm going to really heavily thin this down just so you can see on the palette. I'm going to just add water and kind of pull some of this paint away, just adding even more. This is very, very thin. I'm going to, I don't know why I did that. I'm going to go to the top first and wash this all over the entire thing. Start from top down. Zoom in slightly. Always looking to find new friends in our community. Hell yeah. Art of Mike Disney, thanks for the follow. Runic Raccoon, genuinely thank you. I bought my mech painting because of your work. There might be some exclamations and profanity every time I see your mechs. Oh man, you should drop your. Do you have an Instagram? I'd love to check out your stuff. And you should definitely hop into my Discord if you scroll all the way up in the chat, or go into the description on YouTube. Although I think you're on Twitch here. Yeah, you are on Twitch. Yeah, if you go all the way back in the chat, I have the Discord link. Drop some photos in the real-time painting channel. I think we'd all like to take a look at your painted mechs. Just coming in with a slightly heavier layer of this chocolate brown here. Center this a little bit more on the camera here. This is less diluted. I'm just blowing on it to pop all the bubbles that are forming from me brushing. Just a lot of them in the little crevices and stuff like that. Just going to see one area that hasn't quite filled in. All right, this should be good. I think that's pretty good. You can kind of see, like, it's still very glossy because it's wet, but you can see this has been darkened significantly, but there's still that tint of that ruddy brown and a little bit of that purple showing through. I think once this dries, this will look good and dusty. And then we'll be doing a little bit more layering on top. But as you can see, like, all of these have dried darker than they look initially. I reckon this is going to be drying a little bit darker than it looks right now too. Runic Raccoon, one question: where are you getting your basing bits? So it really depends on the basing bits. So I have a mix of Death Ray Designs, Perfect 6 miniatures, when it comes to like random 6mm scale scenic bits like graveyard pieces, jersey barriers, barrels, sandbag barriers, things like that. And then there's also like Vanguard Miniatures has a bunch of like 6mm scale, like officers, ground crew, things like that. I like using those. Trying to think what else. And then yeah, like cork bits, sand from a local beach. I was actually talking about this a bit earlier in the stream, and yeah, just various grains of like cork. It's kind of what I use for a lot of my basing, and then just like thin down Mod Podge. That's what I tend to glue everything down with, and super glue where I need as well. Oh yeah, Death Ray Designs has a lot of 6mm basing bits, like little urban bits, but Perfect 6 Miniatures has a ton of stuff, like light 6mm scale light posts, like farm bits like hay bales, vegetables, not cows, but like scarecrows. They've also got like kind of Hesco-like barriers. They have a different name, I can't remember what they're called, but sandbag barriers as well, Gothic ruins, like church ruins and stuff like that, so it makes, you know, for nice ruined walls on bases. I really enjoy their stuff, and they're all made of like pewter, or I guess white metal. Yep, they've got pumpkins. Okay. Okay, so we have a couple big decisions to make here. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a little bit of burnt umber ink. I'm going to kind of brush this over the infantry dudes. I am also then going to come back in with some olive drab, and I'm going to paint them with like a faded olive drab. And I will highlight up to kind of like a faded yellow, like a faded khaki yellow. So it'll just look like they have kind of faded camo fatigues. That's not what I want. Actually, yeah, that is kind of what I want. I want this brush. It's not a pointy brush. What this is going to do is just kind of like, this is an ink, a burnt umber ink. So it's kind of like semi-transparent, or translucent would be the correct term, but they like to call it a semi-transparent. But this is going to tint this black dark brown just quite easily. I can just kind of wash it all over, and I don't mind a little bit of tonal variation. That'll actually help. And most of this will go into the recesses anyways, which is actually good because I'm going to be layering up green anyways. I do want to get this on the like the hardware bits as well, like the saddle bits, because this is going to act as a nice base for some of the leather tones that I will layer up in a bit. Because I think it should be obvious, I'm not going to be painting the saddle and the other fasteners the same color as the infantry dudes. Should be a relatively quick process, so we don't have to be like super accurate. I'm curious, Runic Raccoon, what are some of the recent mechs that you finished painting? And I'm really curious, like, what is your favorite piece of mine that I've like painted? Like, what's the one that you were just like, yo, I need to learn how to do that? Because that was kind of me with Brushido, like Kevin Witt. Back in 2020, I wasn't really into the hobby. I had dabbled with the hobby kind of throughout the years, but I was just kind of a casual, and like I hadn't touched the hobby in years. But I gained interest kind of right before COVID hit. And yeah, Kevin's work in the Battletech realm really got me interested in Battletech, specifically more so than 40K. Like I was kind of already, like I was interested in 40K because I had dabbled mostly with 40K. I'd never dabbled with Battletech. But when I got actually like balls deep into the hobby, it was with Battletech, and it was ultimately because of Kevin Witt and some of the work that I had seen him post in the Battletech painting and customs group. I'm pretty sure I've told him this. I'm sure it made him very uncomfortable to hear this, because like me, he has a hard time taking compliments. I'm getting better at it, but yeah. He had a shadow cat that he had posted that was absolutely beautiful. I absolutely loved it. And then yeah, he had a couple other, like I think it was a Warhammer. I just really enjoyed. I kind of went through the Camo Specs library looking at a lot of his stuff, which led me to going through kind of the rest. I went through a lot of like B1B flyers, like Ryan Peterson stuff. Watched a lot of the videos on the Camo Specs channel that, you know, ultimately I was just like, man, it'd be kind of cool to paint for those guys. Here I am, years later. And it is cool to paint for Camo Specs. It's been a pretty rewarding thing. There's definitely funny things about it, but I think that's just with working with any big company. There's always going to be little things that you kind of scratch your head at. I'll be as ambiguous as I can about this. But no, I definitely enjoy getting to kind of put my own little stamp on things, and like this project that I was working on was kind of me putting my own little stamp on the universe. Very excited to get it finalized and then have it shared publicly. And I think, honestly, actually, one of my favorite things was being the first guy to get Banson's Raiders represented on the CamelSpecs website, because Banson's Raiders are like my favorite. I was a child of the MechWarrior Dark Age games, and like I used to play in tournaments every Sunday at like a local game store. That was essentially my initial foray into tabletop gaming as a kid. Was playing that. So I guess my initial tabletop foray was BattleTech, but I dabbled a lot more with the 40K stuff. Was never any good at painting. I would base coat, throw a wash, and do the old dry brush and call her good enough. Because in most cases it is good enough, especially if you're just looking to play a game and have a painted miniature. But I always wanted to elevate it and have like a painted army that was like display worthy. You know what I mean? Like box art worthy. And I can say that I have a few of those now. It's a pretty cool experience. Took a lot of work and a lot of practice, but man, in 2020 I had a lot of time just sitting at home on isolation. So I got a lot of painting done that year. More painting done in that year than a lot of people get done in like several years of their life. Honestly, I would say in like a 3-month period that I was just at home getting paid. I probably painted more in that 3 months than most people will paint in 3 years. Even like really dedicated enthusiasts. Runic Raccoon, I did 2 boxes, Speed Paint Mode, Clan Command Star, I think it was 200 points of Innersphere Mechs for Adepticon. I've been doing so many demos of the game I lost track. Painting for CamelSpec sounds fun. As far as your mech goes, let's see, obviously the Dropship and your Savage Wolf, Mad Cat Mark IV, Banson's Raiders, yeah, nice. That's one of my more favorite ones. That's a fun one to paint. I like the Dropship as well. I have it on my desk behind me, actually. I just have it sitting out on display because I don't play, so I figure I may as well have it on display. Here, let's grab it, actually. There we go. Got all the pigments on there. I'm pretty sure these are like thrust, like RCS thrust vectors, vectoring systems, like in the middle. But I painted them as lasers, just because why not? Chaotic 369, thanks for the follow. Yeah, there's a old school 40K decal that I use there. Yeah, I like this thing. This is a really fun project to paint. It's just such a big canvas, so like doing all the stars and stuff like that was super fun. If you want to see this, I do have the stream recordings. If you're a first-time watcher, go back in the streams and you can see all the airbrush and sponge work and dry brushing that went into this. Really partial to lambs because nobody really knows what to do against them on the table. Love that. When the Catalyst crew was teasing me about the release of these, I was like, please be drop ships. Great work on the weathering. Pigment powders are great. Thanks a lot. Yeah, pigment powders they're so fun to use, and there's a number of different ways that you can use them. It's pretty awesome. I like just thinning them down with water and washing them onto miniatures. You can thin them down with like mineral spirits as well if you want, but I like just doing it with water. Or you can thin them down with isopropyl alcohol, and the isopropyl actually acts as a fixer. So when you brush it on there, like when it dries, it's like it is dry and stuck on whatever surface you've applied it to, and it is not going to come off. Just washing some more of this burnt umber ink onto the next group of infantry. A little bit too much on this fella. Just going to wick some of that away. Okay. I just have the one base left, the one little base of infantry left to do, and then we can start layering up. Hit all their heads just to kind of wick off a little bit of the excess from the brush, that way I don't absolutely flood the first miniature that I start applying to. While I'm starting out, I like doing the stars and stuff on those IWM ships I did for commission. Yeah, those were pretty good. Doing starfield work is always super fun. Like, I find doing anything, kind of any natural feature or display, if that's the right word, like stars or landscapes, is always very fun. Just because it's kind of an organic process. And doing the star fields, I don't know, it's fun, you know. It's one of the easier things to do in terms of artwork, so it's got a very high satisfaction to effort ratio. The atmosphere kind of breaks from the 3D limitations, so it always adds more depth and free flow, 100%. Trying to be as steady as possible with my left hand here, because I don't actually have my, don't actually have my hand braced against anything, and I don't exactly have the steadiest brush stroke. It might seem like a weird thing for me to say, but I actually don't have the steadiest brush stroke. I rely on like very awkward bracing positions to achieve like straight lines and things like that. So doing free balling like that, just freehanding with no support, isn't something I'm good at. Cool. We'll go back to this first one here that we applied the stuff to. We're going to go ahead and grab a little bit of olive drab. I've got it's an airbrush color. This is a pretty desaturated one. It's got a lot of gray in it. And then the highlight color we're going to apply is like a more saturated olive green. We'll just start with this one. We'll just kind of build. We'll move quickly and sketch the highlights. We're not going to worry about like blending a lot with these. I'm also going to change brushes because this one doesn't have a good tip. This one does though, my number 2. It's the one we were using earlier. Go ahead and zoom in slightly here. Oh, I just noticed he had more bases of these things. Oh yeah. I've got 4 guys here. 4 total anyways. I've just got the one that has the hoodoos, a hoodoo on it. I'm not going to do the top of the helmet. I'm going to do the back of it though. I'm kind of undecided on how I want to paint the mask on the helmet. I might kind of do like a glass dome over top, but it also has like the indents for the eyes. So I might just do like an enclosed helmet with kind of glowing eyes, maybe with like a little bit of fluorescence. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to do these guys olive drab, and I'll start layering up some of their saddle gear as well. My ZBrush is getting ready to shut down. Hope I don't lose much work. Oh no, that's unfortunate. I'm just trying to hit all of the raised areas and not get into... Oh, I don't need to do the saddle actually. I want to erase that. I just don't want extra layers on there that I don't need. I also don't want to confuse myself later on because there's olive drab paint there. I want that little area of the saddle to be a brown color that I'm going to apply in a little bit here. But this little area just above it, I definitely need to be olive drab. Just do the top here. Because this is a very thin paint, it's an airbrush paint, I'm kind of, this is like a very heavy glaze almost, but not quite. It's like much heavier than a glaze. But because it is thin slightly, I'm kind of pulling to the direction where I want the highlight to be. So if I want the highlight to be towards the top, I'm kind of pulling up like this. You see what I'm saying? Just kind of touching all these slightly raised areas and trying to stay away from the deepest recesses. Panic a little bit, especially the top. I'm going to hit it pretty hard there. The edges. Again, I'm kind of dragging up because I want the highlight to be at the top. Do the same with the very back, because the back deserves a little bit of pigment as well. Relatively even. I'm not going to touch that again just because the paint is still drying on the back of the backpack. I don't want to create texture where there doesn't need to be any. highlight the back of the helmet here, and then we'll start layering up on the sides. Some little doodads here, a little bit more on the face too. Got the weapon, the rifle. So probably going to paint the rifle like gray colors. I'm just going to leave the rifle for now. I'm not going to add any color to it. But yeah, that is very clearly a weapon. So I'm going to paint it weapon colors, which is going to be some variation of grays to make it look like gunmetal. Double check, make sure I got the leg properly here. I think that's good enough. Doesn't need to be super fancy. Again, I kind of want to move quickly here. I don't want to spend too much time. This guy's got a weapon as well. On this one though, so just these little back pouches. These are very cool miniatures from Brigade Models. I'm a big fan of Brigade Models, actually. They have some really good 6mm scale terrain and buildings and stuff like that. But they have some really cool, pardon me, things like this. 6mm infantry like this. They also have like astronauts, 6mm scale astronauts that are kind of fun for like pirates and stuff like that. I've got a few of those on bases already. Like these guys are good to go for now. As you can see, I've just layered up a little bit of olive green, and over top of that, very, very dark brown black. It actually looks pretty good. Set that to the side, and we'll do this for the next 3 as well. Shouldn't take us too long, maybe 10 minutes per base. Try to move a little bit more quickly, so I can shave that down to maybe 7 minutes or so. Maybe even less, who knows? Yeah, I think we'll do it in less. Not going to fuss too much with this. So we just want these guys to look good enough. I want them to look like they're well detailed at scale. I don't want to get too lazy with them, but I definitely don't want to spend a huge amount of time on these guys. Yeah, I'm just continuing that same theme of kind of pulling up toward the direction of the highlight. That way, as I put these initial layers, I'm already getting that initial highlight gradient, allowing the paint to work for me rather than me working for the paint. You know how the paint likes to work, then you can use that to your advantage. This guy's got a weapon, so I'm going to leave that weapon as is. Just want to make sure I get his arms well highlighted and the wrists and stuff. And then the thighs and the lower legs. Too much paint on my brush here. Clean this up a little bit here. Get this guy's backpack as well. I do apologize if I'm being a little bit quiet right now. I'm just trying to work through this as quickly as I can here. I don't want to linger too long. This next dude doesn't have a obvious gun, so I'm just gonna quickly get paint all over this guy's body. Saved it. Nice. We got this one dude on the first base that we did, or first base I did rather. His head's a little bit. These heads actually could use a little bit more an even coat. Compared to the one I just finished, I think that's good. On to the last two bases. Doing this initial olive drab layer, then we'll go do the highlight. The highlight will be with like an actual, like a fairly saturated olive green from Vallejo. This one is just this is like NATO green, maybe. Oh, let me double check. Yeah, U.S. Air Force olive drab. This one is Vallejo Model Air. That doesn't have a gun. I'm just gonna get his arms pretty well. Side. Oh, just slightly here. Always these small details like this, like that always get me when I'm trying to do a time estimate for how long something is going to take me. I feel like I always underestimate how long some of these steps can take. it's tricky, you know. There's a lot to layer up on here, and I'm trying to be cognizant of not like getting into all these recesses. So it's tricky. It is takes a while. I'm an eager beaver, and I'm like, yeah, let's get through this. I start getting into it. I'm like, oh, this is going to take me a little bit longer than I was anticipating. All this to say, I don't think we're going to be finishing these guys tonight, but that's totally fine. We'll probably finish them on Thursday. Although I'll say that, and just watch, we won't finish them Thursday. But regardless, we will finish these guys eventually. No rush. I'm just eager because I have a few other things I want to work on. We'll kind of get into. I might as well talk about them a little bit now. I have some more Eridani Light Horse I want to work on. I wouldn't mind doing like the full olive green airbrushing process on stream. There's a lot of people who've been begging me to do it, so I think I'm going to do that. I also have one lance so far, but I'm one star so far, and I'm going to have 2 stars total of Clan Protectorate Spirit Cats. I've got it's right now a star of a Wendigo, and then 2 Shadowcat Primes and 2 Shadowcat India configs. Configs. Yeah. I've also got another star of like Griffin 2C, a Phoenix Hawk 2C, Shadowhawk 2C, Novacat B config, and then I'm probably going to be doing a Savage Wolf as well. I might do something else. We'll see. Oh, and then I'm also going to be adding in. I'm probably going to add in a 3rd star, and for sure I'm adding in a Highlander 732 Bravo. It's the Royal variant that the Black Watch used, because in the Ill Clan era, it is available to Clan Protectorate. And I just love that mech. It's a beautiful mech. Great config. This guy's done. On to the next one. Almost done this step. Very exciting. Get some of the excess off my brush onto these other heads. Yeah, so I want to do some Spirit Cats. I also want to do some Eridani Light Horse, and then I've also got it's the Gator or it's the Ator Prime from Ares Minis and Games. Derek has been asking me to paint that mech for him, so I kind of want to paint that as well. It kind of looks like a giant Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle / giant Godzilla / Annihilator. It's weird. It's a very bizarre looking mech, but because of its appearance, I kind of want to paint it in the style of the Annihilator artwork from the trading card game. It's a very cool art style. I can't remember the name of the artist that did a lot of the artwork for those, but I really enjoy his art style. And yeah, that artwork in particular of the Annihilator in the trading card game it's got like a very grungy kind of spooky look to it. Very cool stuff. I'll probably try to speed paint that one too, just because, yeah, I just want to get it painted. But we'll just do like heavy weathering and make it look super grungy. It'll be olive drab mostly, with some caution stripes and stuff. And then yeah, we'll do some like sponge weathering and sponge chipping and pigment powders and oils and enamels and just dirty that thing up. Spirit cats, like we'll be doing those in like gray and white. It's kind of a mix. Like their amount of white depends on how pure they think they are, if I remember correctly. And the gray is supposed to signify their impurity. But yeah, it varies depending on mech warrior and status. I'm a Novacat fan, and it's the only real existence of Novacats that remains in the setting in Ill Clan, so I kind of want to get some done up. And then I also have that, thing that I'm working on, or that I have been working on, that'll get released. I'll probably do a little bit more work on that thing once I, do all these other side projects I'm working on. I'm also going to have some Kurita things that I'm working on in the future as well as some Torian things. I've already based a number of things for my Torian stuff that I want to start. I've got a Wasp and a couple vehicles, LRM/SRM carriers. Very excited for that. That thing. Yep, that thing that I'm working on that I can't talk about. I'm sure that drives everybody nuts. I just want to take a quick pause here just to show this. So this is the hoodoo that we painted with a very thin down chocolate brown over top of the existing layers, and I really like how this turned out. I'm going to layer more on top of this, like when we do the rest of the base work, which will probably be next stream. But I really like how this tinted this completely, but you can still see that purple showing through in the shading, and you can still see that ruddy brown from the P3, the Formula P3 Bloodstone paint that we zenithal over top of this when we did our initial airbrush layering. Looks very cool. I like it. The hoodoo. Yes, I'm a Alberta boy, and we have the Alberta Badlands, and there are shitloads of hoodoos everywhere. So I grew up around them constantly. I always loved them. There's a couple of basalt layers in them, and it's always, especially in Alberta, you can always find dinosaur fossils in and around them, just because they're high erosion areas. And yeah, I've got stuff in my rock collection downstairs in my basement from Drumheller, Alberta, and yeah, there's tons of cool shit, tons of hoodoos as well. We're gonna go ahead and grab this next olive green, and I'll just show you the comparison. So this was the one we just layered on, USAF olive drab from Viaho Model Air. This is olive green from Viaho Model Color. You can see the difference. This almost looks like a pine green in comparison because this is much more saturated. On its own, this actually does look like an olive green, albeit a much more saturated, bright olive green. But that's why I like highlighting with this. And then we'll probably get a bit of a mix of the Elysian green in there. Ooh, actually, you know what? I might go straight to that. Yeah, you know what? On the fly, I'm going to make that swap. We're going to go straight to this. So this is Elysian green. This is even brighter. This is also more yellow, as you can kind of see, if you can kind of tell. It's got a lot more yellow in it. Angus Khan, hell yeah, Drumpeller. Frig yeah, dude. Speaking of hoodoo, I'm gonna hoodoo to Bedu, take care of y'all. Yeah, it's getting late for a lot of folks, I'm sure. What time is it? Oh, 11:03. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go for like another 20 minutes here. I'm gonna do this next layering, and then I think we'll probably call it a night. Thanks for hanging out there, Comstar Knight. I'll do a little bit of showcasing of your stuff when we go through the Discord here after this next step. Is the work you did on your Gothic Marauder and the Comstar Max is really cool. So I'm just gonna focus on like the really raised up areas. This is an airbrush paint, so it's fairly thin out of the bottle. This looks very, very bright, but it's going to dry very desaturated and kind of faded. I'm not going to apply too much of this because I don't want to like overdo the highlighting, but I do need that additional contrast. In the hands, I'm going to do a little bit at the very back of the head there. Put up on the top of the shoulder pad here, a little bit on that sleeve, and a little bit on that leg that's exposed, and that's about it. I'm going to back this off just a little bit because I think this is a little bit close. Audibles here too. LOL, I'm sticking it out to the end. Nice. Get on that high edge on the side earpiece thing there. Like next stream, I'll probably add a little bit more depth to some areas on the faces here, like the face plates. Also going to add a little bit of glow, I think, to all of the eyes, just for kind of like a little point of interest. I think that'll look really cool. Won't be too hard. I'll just kind of I'll thin down a little bit of white ink and kind of just do little pokes of my brush into the recess where the eyes are, the eye holes, and then I'll go in with like a fluorescent red ink or something like that, or even like a magenta ink, and that'll just kind of brighten up that white ink that's in that recess and make it pop. It's like a pretty low effort, high reward thing that'll just add a nice little touch to all these guys. I feel like these guys didn't get the previous green layered on as heavily, but that's okay. So on these dudes, like once I finish this layering, like I'll probably still do a little bit more highlighting with another color, but not tonight. And then I will go to all the guns that are on the different infantry dudes on these Taric beasts. and I will highlight them with like different grays to make them look like gunmetal. And like they have scopes and stuff, I'll probably put like little scope glints on a couple areas. And then we'll do like the saddle bits. And that should pretty much be it for all the details on the dudes and the beasts. And then we'll finish off the bases. Hopefully, I'm thinking about this Thursday. We'll probably get half that stuff done on the Thursday, probably all the detail work, and then next Saturday will probably be the remainder of the base work. You see a So Pro Mini painters talking about inks like they're just the bee's knees. I've been drinking. Nice. I've been smoking. Well, I should say token. Had a few herbal supplements, one before the show and one when I took the break there. I enjoy inks for certain things. So I like black ink. If I'm kind of blocking things in black, I prefer using black ink because it's like water thin and it's highly pigmented, so it doesn't create like a thick, like, you know, if I'm thinking about like overall thickness of layers of paint filling in details over time as I layer up on a miniature, using the black ink, it doesn't really create a thick layer. It's very, very thin but starkly pigmented, so I like using it for that. Because it just turns things opaque black with a single brush stroke. Yeah. I also enjoy white ink for creating brightness volume, whether that be with like zenithal highlighting, volumetric work, or doing object source lighting. I also enjoy fluorescent inks as well. Many of them are translucent, some of them are transparent, but they're really good for object source lighting as well. Stipple on the top of the head there. With this color, less is more, because this is kind of like the primary highlight color that we're applying here. Less is definitely more. So again, I'm really just kind of focusing on these highest areas, and that's going to help with contrast, make these guys look like they're truly lit from above. Spoon Handle now following. Thanks for the follow, much appreciated. This follower raid is pretty awesome. If you're ever finding that when you're highlighting something, the highlights just aren't popping enough, one of two things or both things are happening. Either you're not using a bright enough color that has enough like hue contrast or brightness contrast, or your highlight is covering too much area, or both. Both are possible. So I like going with bright highlights and steep gradients for high contrast. If you're ever doing things like non-metallic metal, it's kind of the bread and butter shit like that. But yeah, I like bright, contrasty highlights. But I try to be very particular and modest with how I apply them. That way, I don't overdo them. It's tricky. It is more art than science, as it were. Yeah. in a few areas on the arms down here. Just a couple little dot touches on a few of the areas on the thigh and the lower leg that are exposed. A little bit on this. A bit on this lower leg here, and that's about it. Again, focusing on mostly the raised areas. As you can see, they're very bright. As I turn this sideways, the sides are much darker. Can't smoke anything but tobacco in Texas. Can't tax weed, too easy to grow. Oh, you can definitely tax it. You just have to have a lot of government enforcement when it comes to the growth of it. And I mean, yeah, like we still allow legal like home grows. Like if you want to grow it yourself at home, you're allowed to in Canada. And I mean, we're a goddamn near socialist state where the government wants to have their hand in a lot of pie, their fingers in a lot of pies. But they still allow people to grow it at home. I don't really understand why the states doesn't allow like just federal legalization of it. You guys can make a killing off tax revenue, and I mean, yeah, you're gonna see more use, a little bit. You know, use is gonna spike a little bit, but I mean, having well-regulated stuff will take a big chunk out of the black market. And the quality and safety of the product will go up as a whole. That's one thing that we noticed like crazy in Canada. The amount of people, I mean, the amount of people getting like laced weed is essentially zero now. Whereas before it used to happen all the time. And, like it was kind of scary sometimes buying weed if if you were buying from the black market. So I think it's definitely worth for just weed in particular. I think other drugs, I don't think we should go down the road of legalizing things like heroin necessarily, but I think with weed it's definitely I think the positives greatly outweigh the negatives. But it's definitely not an innocuous drug. Like it has some pretty severe psychoactive effects, and chronic use definitely can have some squirrely effects, especially if your baseline mental state isn't great as it is. Like my brother, he's got schizoaffective disorder. Great guy, and he's a productive human being. But if he smokes weed, his life falls apart. So it's just one of those things that he can't consume. Whereas me, I can consume it recreationally, and it doesn't affect my life whatsoever because I don't overuse, and I'm just I don't have those same sensitivities that he does. But it's very apparent with him, and I've seen it with other people too. Can't remember the author, but there's a book called Tell Your Children, and he kind of goes into the legitimate scientifically researched risks associated with cannabis use, like recreational and chronic use. It's very interesting. Like there's a lot of correlations between its use and schizophrenia. Not necessarily that it causes schizophrenia, but if you have predisposition towards schizophrenia or schizophrenic-like symptoms, that it can greatly exacerbate them. And that definitely makes sense with my brother's case, given him being diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. It's also got bipolar in there as well. It's got a Skittles mix of shit, ADHD. But despite it all, he's actually come out on top. Pretty proud of him for it. Mexican xenophobia. Oh, is that why they don't want to legalize weed in Texas? Actually, that I can totally see that. That definitely makes sense. A lot of states already have it legalized. Yeah, I'm aware of that. I mean, at the federal level, I don't know why they don't do it. They still have it as Schedule 1, which is insane. I mean, the things they have listed as Schedule 2 versus Schedule 1 is just like, what do you mean? Many states have legalized recreational cannabis. Texas will likely be one of the last to decriminalize it because our legislature is so afraid of the minorities getting votes. Yeah, that's a very silly political beach ball to keep passing around. It's just hilarious because I mean the amount of people that openly use weed in Texas is pretty high, it seems, at least in Austin. I know Austin is, and a lot of Texans have mixed feelings about Austin. It's either greatly loved or deeply hated, it seems. Oh yes, the old hetero cis white male. Don't like those. Nobody likes those. I'm one of those. I know that feeling. Well, actually, well, I guess not the hetero thing, but a cis white male though. Oh no, no. I know you're not asking for sympathy. That's not what I was implying. The last few highlights on this dude here. I do apologize, I haven't had this centered for a little bit. It's a little bit all over the place here. It is getting late. Excited to highlight the guns and have them pop out a little bit more more visibly next stream. I think we will call that good for now. I'll have to probably highlight some of these faces a little bit more next stream as well. I'll come in with a slightly brighter, desaturated, slightly more desaturated olive color. But yeah, that's how they're looking so far. And I'll do the final kind of like edge highlights on these dudes using Ogre camo, which is even more desaturated. Show you folks this. So this is the color we were just using And this is the Ogre in camo. So I'll do like the final highlights on all these dudes with this color, and that'll be that. But we will do that next stream because it is getting late. We'll close this one out with the Discord chat. We'll take a look at all the stuff that's been posted in there because there's been a bunch of shit, and then we'll finish off. Big fan of how these guys are coming along. They're looking good so far. Boom. Zoom back out. That's what the palette's looking like so far. Not too messy. Haven't hit a huge amount of colors so far, so I'm just going to go ahead and cover this off. I like to leave this open just a bit so it vents a little bit. And I'll clean the brushes after. Let's hop over to the PC. Alrighty. Hair's a little disheveled from my my headphones. Pull up the old Discord. So yeah, this is the photos from basically before this session. It's kind of what we're looking like before. This is Sinister posting a work in progress of an undead ogre. I like kind of that bronzing look. Got a little bit of that like blue hue in on the metallics. I wonder if that's intentional. I hope it is, because I like the patina. A little bit of work on some gene stealers. Yellow highlighting on the green. Looks pretty good. What is this? A top hat for... I don't know what mech that is. Ooh, an Owens. These things are super goofy looking. I'm a big fan of the Owens. It's this very fun, goofy little light mech. Looks like some Adeptus Titanicus. Adeptus Titanicus stuff. Oh yeah, a little bit of Comstars work that he did on his like warp gate thing. Some basing prep, seemingly for a locust. I like this, kind of like, looks like it's probably going to be like a river with some rapids or something, maybe. Or maybe it's just like a rocky gap in between a couple like rock faces, who knows. Whoops. Looks pretty good. Oh yeah, and this is some stuff I had posted in here. I haven't posted these to any of my social media yet. I did a little bit of work on these recently. This is an Omniscience command vehicle from Metacore Collectibles. It's very fun. So this is two pieces. I have this on one hex space and another. These are 40 mil hex spaces, and then I have a magnet that adjoins them. Got the 1x dude here. Got a little officer with his binoculars, and then another guy standing sentry here. A few different angles of that. There, bit of a close up. Front view. A little fun work there on the hazard markings. Just the backside. Painting the tail lights. Did a little bit of non-metallic metal work on this as well. All of this is non-metallic metals. Doing it on grates like this is always fun and easy, so yeah. Sledgehammer, it's like a artillery vehicle, kind of. Fire sport vehicle. This one's got artillery, this one's Gauss. Also non-metallic metals. I had fun doing this. Again, more non-metallic metal angles. I wouldn't mind doing a little bit more non-metallic metal on stream. It's something I'm not great at yet. Like, I know like these ones look pretty decent, but I've tried doing it a little bit more on Cinemax, and still have a little bit of dramas with it. But these minis in particular lent well to doing very basic non-metallic metal that, I mean, looks decent. You know, looks pretty good. And then this is a bridging vehicle, also from Metalcore Collectibles. Big fan of this one. This is super cool. A little bit of weathering on the dozer blade on the front. And again, a little bit of non-metallic metal on the back piece there. Not my best work, but, you know. And then without the actual bridge on it, it's got like a little sensor dome up top here. And the little barrel. Yeah. And then a little missile carrier. Magnetized turret, so I can swap it and rotate it. As you can see here, it's rotated slightly between photos. A little bit of non-metallic metal on the back there as well. And then this is the other turret for it. Alright, Audible Jello. Got a trio here. Got the Bushwhacker. That's the one from the Somerset Strikers box. Got the Locust. I think this is the Locust from the Alpha Strike box. I got the Hatchet Man. Big fan of those. Got the photo with the brighter background. I like the bright tufts and the hazard markings on the front. Looks good. If that'll load. Scroll wheel, dude. Metallic paint is so good now. Non-metallic metal is kind of overrated in my opinion. Yeah, it honestly it can be, and it can look a little bit weird on some miniatures, and there's a lot of different styles to it. But yeah, that's just not loading. Oh, so this is the thing that we were looking at. It's like a Freddy Krueger mech of sorts. It's Halloween coming up. I dig it. Oh, alrighty. Comstar. So, this isn't one of the better ones, but he's got a couple coming up here. I really like how they look. They almost look kind of like holographic. This one, more so in particular, almost looks like a kind of like a holographic paint job. You know what I mean? You got like the purples, the blues, the greens, the yellows. Looks very cool. I really like this. Like pearlescent wouldn't be the right word. Opalescent maybe. Although opalescent's more blue and color shifty. But this is like a cool like holographic color shift effect almost. And then he's got a trio here, so he's got a... See, the effect didn't really come out as well on these three. On this 3D printed Archangel though, came out really well. And actually it came out reasonably well on this Archer too. I like how it looks on this. Just the different modeling of colors. Looks really cool. Definitely dig the vibe that this gives. Mad Dog. Getting painted up on Audible Jello. A little bit of base work from Comstar. Just doing a little bit of two-dimensional base work. Ooh, some canopy work. Look at that. Tiny little canopy with the little tiny dots in it. Alright, so looking like a star's worth now of mechs from Audible Jello in this paint scheme. Oh yes. Comstar's Gothic Marauder. Big fan of this. Super cool. Love the aesthetic. Looks like, you know, like a warp demon of some kind from 40K. I dig it. little bit of stuff from Voxel Forge, working on his Bane sculpt. Sanctified Seraph with some work on a PPC carrier. A little bit more work in progress on those mechs. And then Sinister with this Cougar. Definitely digging it. It's a Cougar Prime. Speed paint markers. Nice. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of speed paints for the most part, but I'm probably going to do some slap chop for some Battle Masters miniatures coming up, kind of Warhammer Fantasy style. Be a good one just to, like, they're not fantastic quality miniatures, so I just want to have them painted so they go well with the board game. So I figure slap chop will be a good application for that. That's pretty fun. Yeah, good stream. Minimize out the Discord there. Yeah, we'll be back Monday. Monday will be Mech Warrior Monday. We're going to do a little bit of gaming for at least 2 hours, from 8 to 10, maybe a little bit later. Maybe we'll go until 11 on Monday evening. We'll do some Mech Warrior 4 Vengeance. It's going to be really fun. We're in the desert operations of the campaign right now. It's always a fun area. There's like 6 different missions within that operation. And we're only 2 in, so we still got 4 more to go. And the last one on that one is a pretty big one, where you go up against Kulin and his posse. So I'm excited to play that one. Then Thursday at 8, from 8 until 10:30, we'll continue the paintwork on these. That'll probably get us through most of the rest of the details, hopefully. And then we will for sure finish these next Saturday with the remainder of the details and the basing work. So stay tuned for that. I will be posting some things on social media coming up. I'll probably do a poll on the Discord as well, just to see if folks want to see the Eridani Lighthorse stuff get painted first, or if they want to see the Spirit Cat stuff get painted, or the Ator Prime in that kind of the trading card game Annihilator art aesthetic. Also got a couple other things too that I've got like kind of prepped and ready to paint. So we'll see what folks are interested in. We'll throw that up on a poll and let you people decide. All the newcomers, if you haven't already, hop into the Discord. I'm going to drop the link here again already. Drop the link in here again. If you're not in there already, hop into the Discord. I highly recommend it. We got a good group of people just sharing art and giving each other help and tips. I enjoy it. And yeah, I throw all of the stream alerts in there as well as all my social media. If you haven't followed me already on Instagram or Facebook, follow me at Arclight Minis. I'd appreciate it. I also have my Discord, or my Patreon rather, that is linked on all my socials. I apologize, I'm tired. I'm flubbing my speech constantly here. But yeah, head over to my Patreon. It's basically kind of my personal tip jar. I would like to, if time allows, as my daughter gets older, I would like to start doing some more kind of in-depth tutorials. But life is busy right now, so we'll keep going with things as they are. Streaming when we can, sharing with people as we're able to. Thanks again for your stay in Arclight's Asylum. It's been another episode of Real Time Painting. I hope to see you again next episode, which is coming on Monday. Don't forget, Monday at 8 Central. I will be putting updates on the Stream Alerts channel on the Discord. Stay tuned. Bid you folks a good evening. Stay safe, stay strong, stay true. Have a good one, y'all.